go to our panel discussion, group discussion, where not only the people sitting on the round tables, but the people sitting at the back are also welcome to participate if there are any opinion. I would like to introduce the moderator for this session, Dr. Indu Khetrapal, Principal, Sarvan Public School, New Delhi. So, ma'am will be taking charge of this session, so I'll be handing over the mic to her, and we hope to have a very fruitful discussion in the end.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just, first of all, introduce myself. And at the end of the day, we are all teachers, and I find principal sitting here. I'm heading Salvan Public School, Rajendra. It's a 65-year-old institution, and it's in a 12-acre plot. It is public-private partnership. I run a private school, a public school, and because it is 65 years old, so there is, the third generation is also studying there. We can't meet the demands, so I have a second shift. Also in the same campus, I run 2 government-aided schools. And I'm going to link this with technology, why I'm giving this background to you. When I say government-aided school, I have a Salvan Government Girls' School, Salvan Government Boys' School. And so it's public-private partnership. So in this campus, there is a private school and there is a government-aided school. Obviously, the clientele is different, but how with technology, 8,000 students on the same campus, everyone working together, learning together, collaborative learning, but everyone has their own space. I think that is what the message is, that how technology has, brought all of us, the 4 schools together. The clientele is different, but end of the day, we're still together. Now talking about, I'm also told that I have been given 10 minutes only. Reason being, because once I need to discuss what I'm doing in my school, and after that, from each table, everyone should speak for 1 or 2 minutes so that there is participative, style of this particular session, and there is interaction and everyone learning from each other. We may be using any kind of vendors, but each one's needs are different and our approach is different, and that's how it should be. Now, first of all, talking about, do we have any laws in schools regarding the role of technology in school safety? Do we have any laws in India? We don't have any laws. And it will take time for the laws to be there so that there is more vigilance and we have less of violence in schools. But in the meantime, from the net, there are manuals available, and there is one based in US from the Law Justice Society and published by RAND, R-A-N-D, which talks about the safety measures that one can take, and it's compiled very beautifully, and it talks of the 12 safety measures that are required. I'll just repeat this once again: the role of technology in improving K-12 school safety. And it is brought out by National Institute of Justice, US Department of Justice, and of course published by RAND. And I find most of it, what we need today, it has 12 points, agenda, what should be kept in mind, and case studies, what schools are doing. And actually it covers up everything. So, but in India, we don't have laws, doesn't mean that we are going to sit in that manner. We need to have some kind of policies in our own schools so that, things are clear for the parents, for the students, for the teachers and the management, and there is better understanding. So I think that was the first thing that I want to share with you. Now, second is what is NCF? We are told about, no, not the NCF, let's talk of the National Policy on Education, 2016. I'm sure some of you must, or most of you must have gone through it. It talks about how technology has to be integrated into the classroom, be it the rural school or a government school or a private school. Role of technology is very, very important. So this is one of the highlights that the National Policy on Education talks about. Now, 2-3 things I will also like to share before we discuss our experiences. Let me start with, it was in the year 2005. That was the year when first time I worked in Gurgaon school earlier, again the same management, but in Salwan Public School, Gurgaon. And it was in the year 2005 when the first time the state award, the ICT state award was introduced. First time in Haryana. And I remember my school was only about 4 years old at that time. And we said, well, we must, we were quite excited because at that time there were not many schools in Gurgaon. And although 4 years old, so we said, but we must apply for this award. And my teachers worked very hard, and the first school in Gurgaon, in Haryana, to get the award. Now, how did we make that happen? No, thank you for that, but the learning is how did we make that happen? I think that's important, but before I share this, keep in mind the human element, the brain is, at the end of the day, should be given top priority, because it is the brain which has developed the computer, the brain who has developed all this. So that should never be given, that should be given the top priority. And I think we kept that in mind. And also now regarding the learning environment, we were very careful that the emotional and social conditions of the children is very important. If they are not secure, there'll be no learning taking place. You can introduce any kind of gadgets. Yes? So the social and emotional. Because what happens if there's violence, you can through technology check violence. But if the students are not happy, and they are not at peace, it's not a conducive environment, you can do nothing about it. Yes, I will. I'm just throwing the ideas, 4 or 5 ideas, and then we start over with this. So that is the learning environment that you can talk about, how in your schools what you are doing regarding the learning environment. It's fine to introduce gadgets and technology and so many things happening, but the focus is the happiness index. Is it a learning environment? Now, second most important is students with disabilities, with students who are visually impaired. What are you doing for them? That is another area which we can all share. And the next one, I would, of course, as discussed about the GPS, you enter with the biometric and the CCTVs in the classrooms and elsewhere. That's basically the physical infrastructure security. So maybe some of you, you can take points from here, then each table will discuss one point. Next is regarding the pedagogy. We are talking of digital or classrooms, flipped classrooms. It's not very expensive, it is possible to do it. And if I'm doing it in my private school, the government school, which I also run, is also doing it, but in their own way, not spending too much money on that. So that's another thing, the pedagogy, how we prepare the students. Now, next would be how to get the learning resources. Usually what is happening is vendors are there, we say, all right, take this vendor or take that one vendor. If you are new, it is fine. But end of the day, it is possible to create your own resources. I think that's one area that one can talk about. And lastly is education, of course, without boundaries. When I say education without boundaries, sitting here, webinars, video conferencing, talking with what is happening in the US school in class 8 in the 5th period, all that is possible today. So some of you can share that experience also. And today, studying in school is one thing, but home tuition, when I say children staying at home, online courses, and parental learning on how to use technology is also gaining a lot of importance. So these are some of the issues. And of course, when I talk of this, the three eras, there was the Gurukul, then the government took over, but today it's all parent-child learning together. What we say is the child may be in the school, but you have to educate the parent also. So mobile learning is also another area that is being used. I stop at this point. I think I've used my 10 minutes. And now, whichever area you want to talk about, each table can discuss and then make a 1-minute presentation so that we have viewpoints of everyone and there is more interaction and we are learning from each other's experiences and what they are doing in the schools. I hope the format is fine with everyone. Yes? So far, have I communicated properly? Please say yes or no. Yes. And so now we start now. And so whichever area you'd like to discuss first, maybe just introduce yourself and then whichever point you'd like to discuss. Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mrs. Pratibha Dabas. I'm the Academic Director of Gulaya Progressive Public School, and I'm also a teacher educator.
Just loudly, madam, so that you can be heard. And one point you will take up and throw more light on it.
I would like to talk about something that was, mentioned earlier, that the role of the teacher today and how it is transforming. What I would like to say here is that, yes, the children have a lot of information today. It's available at the click of a button. But the teacher's role is to help them make sense of that information. That is something which is very important. We have a lot of, the videos and a lot of stuff available at the click of a button again. But students don't know what to do, to make out of that information which is given to them. So that is something a teacher has to do, and we have to teach them this media literacy right from the beginning. Because students learn by observation and by being exposed to information over a period. So that's what, changes the way that they think. And as a psychologist, I'm talking as a psychologist, I was speaking the other day to a famous psychiatrist, you must have heard of, Dr. Rakpal. What he told me was, with the kind of exposure that we are working on and the kind of, the smart schools and the smart boards that we have created, probably we'll just have, smart boards and smart schools and not smart children. So we really have to keep that in mind when we are working towards, exposing our children to technology all the time.
All right, now anything to talk about teachers? Just one more viewpoint and then we move on to the next point. Yes.
Hello, I'm Vaishali Parikh, Anand Niketan, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Ma'am, I would like to bring a point here about child safety in terms of technology. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes before we got the presentation in terms of how we can have vigilance and activities happening around the child. My point is here, see, we are all working to, if something will happen and then we will rectify how it had happened. So can we have something that proactively, see, if we'll consider proactiveness in terms of what things can be happen. Ma'am just shared one booklet, just 12 points are given there. Surely would like to go through that as well.
Definitely.
But here my point is, when we are dealing with children, we are dealing with human, can we have something in terms of like if 6-year-old child or 10-year or 13-year-old child, all the time somebody is watching you. Somebody is there around you and they know that we are observed by all the time, whether it is teacher, whether it is parent or something. So can we create an environment, can we give some values, having that faith, trust in them, so that we can have this kind of future generation where right now we are scared with certain things. We have that fear factor, so that we are using some technological tools to use that. But if we can bring that
Yes.
generation in that way, to having that faith and trust, so that they can be reasonable and responsible.
Yes, thank you, madam. See,
Thank you.
talking, I would say regarding the children's safety, if you know within our own school setup you have policies, and if you have your school mapping, you know, mapping is clear that where you have to go and so on, that will help. And regarding the role of teachers, I would say that information, knowledge is available. I think today the role of the teacher is how to apply that knowledge. I think that is the role of the teacher today, because today everything is available. All right, now next table, and please keep in mind everyone has to speak.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ms. Smriti Bhalla, Principal of Cambridge International School, Sangrur. I would like to say that as we are talking about social and emotional learning of the student, so I believe that we should first keep in mind the happiness of the child. And to keep that in our mind, we can always create a survey, and that survey should be related to the student, that how does he feel. And that survey could be conducted through SurveyMonkey or Zoomerang or some other, such web services which could be of a help.
Yes, that's fine. Any, will this table like to add to this point about social and emotional index? Yes.
Not really, ma'am. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rashmi Malik from Delhi International School. Not exactly, I mean, it's something related to this only. When we are talking about security in schools.
Madam, you can do.
Yeah, sure. When we are talking about security in school, I'll just share my experiences with you. As you're talking about policy making, yes, we do have certain policies in our mind, and we have implemented that also in our school. Previous to this, beginning of the session, we had one presentation by a particular industry person. I'm yet to find a solution wherein, you know, I get real-time data about GPS tracking. Okay, I'm fortunately masters in information technology, and you know, I'm contacting many organizations, having a lot of demos done in my school and pilot projects done in my school from outside India also, regarding the technology which says security, you know, of the children boarding the buses and buses entering your campuses. But I'm yet to find a real-time, you know, showcase on my screen. You know, I mean, one fine day, obviously, I had to tell, you know, a few set of parents, telling them that, okay, parents, you are involved in this pilot project. You may get delayed messages, so be ready for that. And they did get wrong messages that their child has been dropped to XYZ stop, and which was not their child's stop. And I had given them a, you know, number, direct number, and I said, you just call and confirm. So they confirmed from my transfer in charge. He said, no, he's right at your own stop, don't worry. And this technology intervention is needed, but then it has to be real time, and we should be ready. We are only talking right now about cities. I don't know what will happen in the villages and all. Many things are, you know, unnoticed, going unnoticed. The other thing, ma'am, if you allow me to tell about, we had various incidents which keep on, you know, coming in Delhi. Especially, we see a lot of media intervention in schooling. So what we did, we implemented, okay, fair enough, we'll have those ICAs, which can, you know, those swap kind of ICAs, and you enter, we understand that you've entered. We also have CCTVs in all possible areas of our campus. But then, before implementing and before setting up those CCTVs on our campus, we did talk to the teachers, because teachers were pretty apprehensive. Ma'am, you're putting cameras in our classrooms. You want to watch us? So I said, no, I'm not going to see how you're teaching. You are free to teach the way you want to teach. It is only for your benefit, so that God forbid something happens inside the class, you have a proof. So we don't interfere as such on daily basis, but we keep a track. Like on all the floors, level-wise, we have the admin officers, or rather I should say coordinators, teacher coordinators who keep a watch on that. There are screens available. For me, there is an obviously overall campus the relay is possible, is there on my screen. We also have the CCTV installed on the gate. We do not allow anyone to enter without a gate pass signed by us. For which I have faced a lot of anger from the parents, from the other people. I mean, many of the industry people have tried to enter, but then they couldn't because we have a very secured, kind of gate entry system. And I would also like to add on here, it includes the management's visitors as well. Unless they sign the gate pass, nobody is allowed to enter the premise.
Yeah,
So that is one thing. And one last thing, ma'am, we did something which I was not very happy with, but then we had to speak to the teachers and entire staff member and the management. In especially kindergarten area, no mature male is allowed. We've
No?
just banned it. No male is allowed. All ayahs, all sweepers, all housekeeping staff, everybody, all teachers also are females. But that's what society is just pushing us into.
Yes,
Thank you so
thank you,
much.
madam. So it is CCTV technology, but then the brain, the human element, seeing that everything is in place, but more often than not, we do have these gadgets, CCTV and so on, but how much of it we keep a track and how much of it we see, that is, you need a dedicated person for
May
that.
I just add on to that with CC? Like I make a rule in my school, in case any child, a girl child has to walk out of the classroom for whatsoever reason, it's a rule. No girl child is moving alone. 2, and no boy child is, a boy child is always moving alone. The ayahs, even in the pre-primary area, if the child has to go to the washroom, the child is never left alone. We always have an ayah accompanying the child into the washroom and bringing back.
Okay, now next table now, the one behind, what issue will you like to discuss? And I'll request everyone has to participate and contribute to this discussion.
I totally appreciate what Madam must have mentioned here. But when we talk of, a very inclusive growth model, and if we create this kind of silos, see, imagine this room without male or female. Okay, so I don't know where this kind of support.
That is why I said I don't support
No,
that, but then
yes.
I was forced to.
You're bound somewhere to do that. But in the inclusive growth model in a real world situation, they need to learn. So we need to see that how we use this technology. Plus, in addition to this, we take technology to the schools in such a way that it is, quite accessible to the poorest one also. And it really, we were talking in the previous session that was about, if we really want to reduce the burden to which we talk of, sometime in the form of the bag load also, we can bring in something which, absolutely remove this bag going to the schools, and we depend on, some such things which I've shared with Mr. Singh also, that we go for a kind of tab with a writing pad on it, okay, and with solar panels also connected to it, so that you don't have even problem of charging also. So I think we should we need to look into that kind of solution and that kind of proposals too.
To this point, now two things about, one was the girl and the boy issue. I think gender sensitivity is what we need to promote. One has to be careful if it's a girl or a boy, because things are happening with both. So I think that we should keep in mind. Otherwise, I find in some of the schools they have this, ladka hai, and their role is different and so on. So that is, I think, one area to ponder on. And the second one that you said was how much to use technology. What was the second point that you said? The load of the bags. See, it's again, these are just discussions, each to his own. There are schools where there are no bags, you bring your iPad only. But then you are losing out on the basic things also, the art of writing. So somewhere each school to his own, we have to take a call what suits our school. I hope you agree with that. Now next table.
Just madam, it is I think somewhere misunderstood. Let me correct it. It is a pad, a notepad or whatever you call it, or tab with a writing pad. Where there will be. I'm working on it, and with DataWind and Samsung people, Reliance also got involved in it, and we are looking into that. Such skills about which you are talking about. That they are being very properly taken care of.
All right. Yes, next table. Some other point to ones that has already been discussed.
Yeah. My name is Muhammad Azhar from Chennai Knowledge Academy School Principal. Probably I would like to learn from you people, experienced people, like on pedagogy. When we see our teacher education and the teachers who have been in the profession, I feel probably self-learning should happen in terms of teacher empowerment, because in my experience, I feel that whatever the training and the workshops you provide to the teacher empowerment, they are not in a position to accept the impact, the changes which the technology has made in their education. So probably the basic skill of understanding understanding the technology, the digital literacy is based on their understanding. And I feel the education system is not providing that understanding power. Is that okay? Or if you have any opinion on that? And that is impacting on pedagogy.
Because
I would like to...
times have changed, world has moved ahead, but the classrooms haven't. I think that is what you're trying to say. Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, I'm Dr. Dheeraj Mehrotra, and my point of view is that when the technology is there in the classroom, it has a limitation to the learning information from the side of the teacher. The teacher has to be well versed in utilizing the power of technology. Why? Because children are with technology when they are out of the class. So the teacher, as a substitute for Google, has to take further steps to impress the children in the classroom by talking words related to technology, and fees his online social presence, which in other words also known as ORM, which is online reputation management, because the child is very happy when he Googles the teacher, finds him at his blogs, websites, YouTube presence, everything. So the scenario has to be somewhat the presence of the teacher beyond the classroom is what is required. Thank you.
All right, now table at the back now, table at the back. Again, the same point. Anything you'd like to say about pedagogy and about teacher's role? Table at the back. Or will someone else like to?
I would like to speak about a point here.
I think,
He's spoken about pedagogy. I'm going to talk about assessments. I'm Kavita Sangvi, principal.
1 minute. You want to talk of assessments?
Yes, related to pedagogy, because I've been teaching for past 15 years.
All right.
So past 15 years since I've been teaching physics, what I've realized is my assessment is for learning and not off learning anymore. And that is because of the help of technology. And it has really changed my teaching learning methodologies. So that is why I truly feel that technology has aided us for entirely changing the assessment patterns.
Excuse me, ma'am,
Thank you, madam. Yes, next.
I just wanted to add to what Mr. Dheeraj has just said. I'm Himal, Principal Hansraj Model School, Punjabi Bagh. Very rightly said, sir, unless you know actually how to use technology, it would really be all in vain. But today what has happened is, children are not even waiting for the teacher to give any information anymore. I mean, it's there in their mobile. Before you can find out something or some information, something that you do not know, the child has it on his mobile. So the fact that our tools are changing so much, I mean, much faster than we can imagine, is something that we have to be very careful about. By the time we incorporate some of these apps and tools in our teaching system and transaction in the school, before we do that, there is something new in the market. I mean, it is getting difficult for educational institution to keep pace with it. And if we don't keep pace with it, no, then we are dinosaurs. I mean, we'll all go extinct. Coming to the second point that ma'am has said, and many of you also mentioned here, one is diagnostic monitoring, a support monitoring system forever. We will always need to do that because of the safety issues that we have been all talking about. Number two that she mentioned now, assessment. Our system of assessment will have to change. I'm not saying we'll have to do away with the pen and paper method, but the way we go about the formatives, the way we go about the essays, essay ones, the summative assessments, we will have to change that too. That has not changed. Though technology has entered into our teaching learning system, the assessment is still the same.
All right, thank you, madam. One more point on assessment before I also give my input on that. On assessment, are you using technology for that? How are you managing it? Who would like to add to this? Yes? At the back, on assessments? Will anyone like to add to that?
Ma'am, lot of technology is available right now, but our teachers are not up to the mark to use the technology.
Yes, that's right. And anyone else on assessment?
But our systems are not ready for online assessment. The students are ready to appear for online assessments, but we are not ready to assess them. So when we have in the market people, providers as we call them, who give us so much of material to how to go about teaching in the classroom, we also need a few more providers to give us a lot of material on how to assess systems online. No,
That's
not
right.
everything, ma'am.
You
We
see,
don't have
even,
everything. There
what-
is a lot in the market, but there isn't enough.
That's right. Now, what CBSE is doing regarding the Avishkar series, if you're aware of, sometimes you find it's not working and, children have prepared so hard. Again, talking about assessments, especially life skills, it's very difficult to assess. You may have your parameters and so on, but you are struggling and the thing. So sometimes here I find technology helps because there is a lot of software available and we find it helps. Also today regarding assessments, what is happening, the teacher has taught the first chapter. After the first chapter, there are questions you have to answer online, and then the teacher scans it and you get the answers. How many of them have understood the chapter? Yes? How many of them have understood the lesson? So I think that's another step forward. All right, now next table.
Excuse me, ma'am, I have a point here. See, when a teacher teaches and before a child is assessed, we need to make sure the child retains that information between the period of being taught and the period when he's assessed. So that is where the role of visuals really affects, because the memory retains everything in a pictorial form. You don't remember the words, your memory retains everything in the form of a picture. Whatever you read, you form a picture of it in your mind. So when you see visuals, you have a better understanding of any concept that's being taught. That is where I think visuals really play a greater role. Because
Excuse me. Sorry to disturb.
Yes. No, have you
Regarding
finished? Have you finished?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Right last. Right last.
Ma'am, can I?
No,
Yeah,
just
thank
1
you.
minute. I think just let it in.
My name is Amit Jham.
Just loudly, please, so that everyone can.
My name is Amit Jham, and I'm from Pearson. So, and we're the world's leading assessment organization. The point that I like to put across is, what does the word assessment mean? It's a Latin word which means to sit with. Now, if I have to put it on a simpler perspective, it says to sit with the child, right? Now, when a teacher is sitting with the child, the teacher needs to have a diagnostic feedback about the child, that what the child is good at, what the concepts that the child has understood, and what are the careless mistakes that the child has done. So, where there technology can help the teacher give a diagnostic feedback. So once the teacher has the report wherein conceptual or careless mistakes can be identified, and we are sitting with the child, I think the entire paradigm of looking at assessments or giving a view, the parent-teacher meetings will become all the more constructive, and the child will know what are the areas of improvement for that particular topic or subject, and we can focus more on the learning outcomes.
Yes, that's fine. You will know that which particular skill the child is lacking in. Let's say it's English, is it in reading, writing, speaking, or listening? So you can come to know which skill that he needs to work on. There's another
Yes,
person.
yeah. Ma'am, adding on assessment, I have one question actually. We are talking about software and technology for assessment. When there is changes happening every day, and as a teacher has one goal and aim about the learning process happening with the child. What software and technology is available and the reports we are getting from the software, that is something which is very, it's a complete data package. Though we conduct one test, and on the basis of that one test, you get the complete result of that child. But my point is here, the child is changing every day. And the rubrics, the teacher is the best person to observe and to know what are the change happening with the child in terms of learning. So can we have something in technology or any software, because some of the people from the industries are sitting here. Not only one test can decide the child's learning here.
All right.
I would like to answer that question.
Okay,
ma'am.
now one more last question. Yes, you want to add to this? No, madam, I think please just...
I think technology can be used to design different forms of assessment, different styles of assessment, keeping in mind multiple intelligences also. Like for example, if there's a child who's very good at speaking, you know, we can have a video recording of the child's speech and other things, role play also, acting also, dance and everything, you know, so they can be varied styles, different styles of assessment using technology.
All right, at the back, I think someone raised their hand, yes.
I'm Dr. Rita Saxena. I'm principal Sarpanappan Singh Hania School. In fact, as ma'am said that all the assessment is based on one test or something. I think since long CBSE has introduced the CCE pattern where they have given you the permission to have multiple tests.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the basis of all the tests, all the development phases,
Absolutely.
you can...
I agree with that. My point was in terms of technology and software. That's there.
Yeah, it's okay. In technology and software, they have not provided.
Yes.
In fact, CBSE is still in process to provide you on the for CC
I think now with the new chairman, the present CC manual will also be revised and we'll have a better thing.
it is
Okay, now one last question. Is technology making us less creative?
Yes, ma'am. I have very strong notions about it. May I share one?
One minute. I think at the back, madam, you will sum up. At the back, I want one or two tables also to please answer that. Is technology making the students less creative? At the back, some one or two from the back.
I'm not at the back, but I want to speak as a teacher over here. When we go to class, suppose speaking on the creative part, that if technology is not accompanying me in the class, I will be thinking of different modes, that how I'll entertain my children or how I'll cater my child in the class. But when there is a technology given to me, I'm not speaking, I'm speaking on a majority part. I'm not addressing the teachers who are still creative with the technology. But I will think that I have a bunch of videos, I have a bunch of this, especially dealing with science. I will just show them. And my class is very creative, children enjoyed it, and parents are also happy. Ma'am is showing so many things, an experiment, virtual lab and everything. But the teacher knows the reality, what she has done in the class. So that is my point to state over here, that I feel that definitely it is affecting the creativity of the teacher.
All right, so one last one at the back.
Yes, I have here. I'm here. Yes, she's rightly said that definitely the creativity is there. Even while using the technology, the creativity is there. But the teachers are stopping their creativity by showing, because everything is available on the fingertips. So their critical thinking, the students' critical thinking, reasoning skills are getting down. The curiosity of everything is available. They get solutions for all their questions. So they don't go for more and more questioning techniques. And that's the creativity which is getting demolished or stopped in the classrooms.
All right, now at the back, someone
Yes,
raised their hand.
yes,
No, just 1 minute, just right last so that I've touched all tables. Right last.
Good evening, I'm Seema Handa from Eklavya School, Jalandhar. We've been debating since morning, and I think a lot rests in the hands of the teacher. You can use the technology to enhance your creativity and the creativity of the child. Nothing stops us from doing it. It's more of a mental barrier. If you are being lazy, then nothing can stop you, whether with technology or without. But at the end of the day, you cannot move backwards. You have to only move forwards. Technology is the way to go. It's happening.
Okay, yes, thank you, madam. This gentleman in front who wanted to speak and...
Yes,
no,
actually,
yeah.
if you permit me, just I want to make that from the last, yesterday also and today also, we are talking about the technology use, whether in the form of pedagogy, whether in the form of assessment. Just I want to tell only one thing, TPAC is there only. The technology, if teacher in need in pedagogy in whatever way, if that much only teacher has to use. TPAC, technological, pedagogical content knowledge. In content knowledge, first of all taught through the pedagogy. If your pedagogy allow you to teach through technology, yes. In a pedagogy, if your assessment is needed, as you also told, and Vaishali ma'am also told, I agree that life skills cannot be judged through this. So that more technology is not useful. We have to use our traditional way. Yeah,
Okay.
so TPAC is the technology, pedagogical content knowledge. As much our pedagogy allow you, we have to use the technology. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. And now what does research show? Research shows that the brain needs to be stimulated all the time. So technology will make you more creative. That's what the research is. I stop at this point and thank you everyone. We were just discussing on what are the issues and but at the end of the day, each school to his own and has to take the call. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would request you to please be on stage for being such a good moderator and engaging so many people by moderating a session with questions. That was very helpful. I would request Seema Gupta to please come on stage and felicitate ma'am for joining us and moderating the session. A huge round of applause for ma'am, please.